How's it, everyone? Welcome back to another racket review right here on OpenCourt. I'm Kent, and today I'm reviewing a very highly requested racket. I finally got my hands on it. I know I'm late to the party. I don't get sent any rackets or anything, so I just had to wait for my local tennis shop to get a demo for me, and I finally got it. The racket that I'm trying out today is the Head Gravity Tour 2025 edition. Let's check it out. So quick shout out to On Point Sports here in Hawaii, Honolulu. They're the ones that let me demo this racket to try, and as always I usually go there to see what they have in stock. They have a great selection of rackets, pickleball gear as well, so check out On Point Sports if you guys are ever in Honolulu for your sports related needs. Okay, so this is the new update to the gravity line. So first of all, as you can tell, it's gotten a cosmetic facelift, and I gotta say this racket looks beautiful. I think Head did a tremendous job with this new paint job. It's slick, it's nice, it has this nice glossy finish with this sheen, and if you kind of shift it in the light over here, it's like a midnight blue kind of paint job, so it shifts from black to blue and it looks really nice. When I saw the pictures of it, I thought blue, it looks a lot like the Boom, so I didn't know how they were going to differentiate it, but looking at it in person, holding it in my hand, this looks nothing like the Boom, and the paint job has come a long way since the Gen 1. Here's a picture of the Gen 1 where it has that dual-faced sides where it's one color on one side and the other side has a different color. It looked very weird, but the gravity paint job looks very nice, and I think this is what they should stick with going forward. Sorry, it's a little longer than I usually want to take on the looks of the racket, but to me aesthetics is important. So the Gravity Tour, I'm sure a lot of you guys know this because reviews of this racket have been up for a few months already. The biggest change between this and the previous edition, which came out in 2023, are the specs. So the head size used to be 100, but now it's a 98. And the string pattern used to be an 1820 and now it's a 1619. Why they decided to change the specs? Maybe they just wanted to make it a little bit more of a balance between control and spin and power. The smaller head size is going to give it a little bit more control, but the more open string pattern is going to give it a little bit more access to spin and power. I really like 98-16-19s. The Radical is another 98-16-19 that I've always liked, so I'm excited that they decided to go with that for this new tour. And another update to the 2025 edition, Head has added Auxetic 2.0 to the yoke, or the bridge as they call it here, and also in the handle for better feel and response. They have Auxetic in all the other lines, but they also increased the swing weight a little bit in this 2025 edition to give it a little bit more stability and a little bit more plow through for a bit more power. It still has a surgical 22mm beam, so this is still a control racket in my opinion. And it still has graphene inside. That's nice to hear. Graphene is still going strong, so Head has incorporated it in this Gravity. And lastly, the Gravity has this signature teardrop shaped head. It's similar to the Boom where it's wide up here in the upper hoop, so it gives it a wider sweet spot for more access to spin, and the sweet spot is a little bit higher than the average racket, which gives more power when you extend out and you're able to hit out wide here or up top here. You're getting that maximum extension, so it leads to more power when you hit in this upper sweet spot, and that's what is signature with this Gravity and also the Boom line. Alright, so now let's just take a quick look at the specs. Here they are. So as you can see, it now has a 98 square inch 1619, and the swing weight has increased a little bit, but all across the board it still remains the same. The 22mm beam still makes this a nice controlled racket for precision. Alright, so I'm excited to finally test out this Gravity Tour. A lot of people have commented, when are you going to try this? I finally got it. My local shop, On Point Sports, had a demo for me to try. So without further ado, let's jump on the court and let's test out the new Head Gravity Tour 2025. But before that, if you guys like this content and want to see more, be sure to overhead smash that like and subscribe button to keep the reviews coming. So let's start with the pros of the Head Gravity Tour 2025. First off, the Gravity line is known as Head's most flexy and arm-friendly racket line, and that has remained the constant with this racket. The Gravity Tour is really soft and plush. There is a lot of ball pocketing, and the way the racket bends absorbs shock very well. It is very comfortable, and if you have arm issues, the Gravity will help protect your arm. Head's Gravity falls into the same category as the Prince Phantoms and the Wilson Clash. The Clash will be more powerful than the other two, so if you want a tad more control, the Gravity would be a better fit. That brings me to the next pro, which is the control on full swings. I really enjoyed the Gravity from the baseline. Although this racket is a bit too muted in feel, the Gravity's thin beam allows me to stay on the gas and rip my ground strokes from all areas of the court. The way the racket swings also feels great when I want to carve up the court with short angles and deep slices. I am able to play my deceptive short court game, but at the same time I can wail on the ball from the baseline without much fear of the ball sailing long. Even with the more open 16-19 pattern compared to the 18-20 of the previous edition, this Gravity Tour maintains a low launch angle. This helps most on my return of serves. I'm able to step in and attack returns with confidence, and I'm able to dictate the point with my returns. I can also approach the net after an effective return. The return was my favorite part of the Gravity Tour playtest because of the confidence it gave me to play aggressively. I was able to pull my backhand return cross-court and away from the opposing net player easily. My forehands were also punishing, and I was able to set myself or my partner up for an attack shot. The increased swing weight from the previous edition also meant the racket didn't twist as much if I hit off center. This is especially important on returns. Overall, I felt the Gravity Tour was a solid racket from the baseline because of the depth and lateral control it gave me. The thin beam also translated to biting slices that stayed low and skidded off the ground. I love thin beam rackets like the Phantom for this very reason. I can feel the racket cut through the air very quickly on slices, and this gave me confidence to use my slice offensively and defensively. I was also able to catch my opponent off guard a few times by slicing down the line over the high part of the net on defense. Most people don't expect that on a defensive slice. I also had good depth control with the slice, and I was able to bring my opponent up with a short slice and force them to scoop the ball up. Players who want scalpel-like precision on slices and short court shots will find the Gravity Tour to offer much in this department. The thin beam also came over my head very easily on serves. I was able to hit a surprisingly good kick serve with the Gravity Tour. At first, I was worried that the head-heavier balance of 320mm would make swinging over my head and pronating a chore, but I quickly found the static weight was light enough that I could accelerate through contact and hit a kick serve that bounced rather high. The more open 16-19 pattern also helped, as the previous edition had an 18-20 and was a little more difficult to pull my opponent off their spot on returns. The slice serve also had some nice gliding action, and I found it relatively easy to aim for the sideline when serving from the deuce court. And lastly, the Gravity Tour is a solid stick at net. Although it doesn't really pack much punch at net, we'll get into that later, the Gravity provides a nice plush feel that allowed me to push my volleys into the backcourt without much issue. The increased swing weight also gave the volleys much needed stability as well. Thinner beam rackets like my Phantom Pro tend to get pushed around at net if my opponent hits the ball fast at me and I need to take a stab at the ball. I never really experienced that with the Gravity. I felt at home at the net, and I wasn't afraid to poach across the middle because I knew the Gravity had the stability to not get pushed around and be able to hit an effective volley into the gaps. Overall, the Gravity Tour was a nice playtest. Although I'm still not a huge fan of this line from Head, I think the Gravity Tour was easily playable for my playstyle, and blasting ground strokes and slices from the baseline were the highlights of this playtest. Now let's get into the cons of the Gravity Tour. There were two lingering issues I experienced with this racket which ultimately make this stick not something I would feel comfortable using in a competitive match. The first is the weight distribution. The Gravity Tour lies in a weird spot in terms of weight and balance. In one hand, the racket has a higher swing weight than the previous edition, so it is very stable for a thin-beamed racket. But at the same time, the static weight is too light to really plow through and pack a punch on both ground strokes and volleys. I struggled most on approach shots. If I was able to force my opponent to feed me a short ball, I had a hard time putting that approach shot away. The Gravity didn't have enough plow through to hit a penetrating approach shot, and whenever I tried to overexert to make up for this power deficiency, I ended up making more mistakes due to having to take a wilder swing. I was only able to hit for power if my opponent gave me pace to tee off on. And the second major issue is the feel. This is the reason why the Gravity is actually one of my least favorite lines in the head family. The feel is too muted for me, and that is a deal breaker for someone like me who relies on touch and finesse, especially in the front court with my drop shots and angle volleys. I will admit, this racket was strung with Lynx Touch, which is a very muted string, and the racket itself would probably play better for me if strung with something crisp like Lynx Tour or Hawk Power. But this soft and muted feel combined with the flex and ball pocketing is the main selling point of the Gravity line, and it doesn't really do it for me. I like something stiff, responsive, and doesn't really bend a whole lot. I'm not a fan of the Wilson Clash line for the same reason. If you like this type of flexy, soft, and plush racket, more power to you. But for me, I need something more responsive so I know exactly where I'm hitting and I can go for my aggressive shots and touch shots with confidence and accuracy. Besides these two issues, nothing else really bothered me about the Gravity Tour. It's a solid, if not spectacular racket, and it is simply not meant for a player like me who values a firmer and crisp response and a bit more power and plow through. If I were to purchase and use this racket full time, I would add weight in the throat and under the butt cap to increase the plow through power and also string it with a crisp poly. So now, since I came to the conclusion long ago that the Gravity line is not really for me, who is the Gravity Tour for? It's for a player who values the soft and plush feel that is unique to the Gravity and Clash line, but wants a bit more control than the Clash. The new specs of the Gravity Tour also make this a good platform racket. It's easily customizable but also playable in stock form. I think the new 16-19 string pattern is more accessible than the previous 18-20, and this will make the Gravity Tour 2025 edition more attractive to a broader range of players. So now let me know what you guys think of the new Gravity Tour. Do you like the new specs, or do you think they should have kept it the same? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next review. Thank you for watching this review of the Head Gravity Tour 2025 right here on OpenCourt. If you guys like this content, be sure to overhead smash that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you on an OpenCourt.